everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining our What's New webinar. Today, we're going to be showcasing some recently released and upcoming Ironclad features and exploring how you can integrate them into your digital contracting process. I'm Erin Kumar, a customer success manager here at Ironclad, and I'll be your moderator today. It's great to see so many familiar faces, loving seeing where everyone's joining us from today. And I'm really excited to hear how you all plan to incorporate some of these updates to streamline your contracting workflows with Ironclad. Before we get started, I want to take a quick moment to talk through some logistics. Please use the chat function to engage with others during the webinar and use the Q&A to submit any questions that come up during the session. We have moderators who are going to be moderating the Q&A, and they'll be answering questions throughout our session today. And we will also be having live Q&A at the end, so make sure to add all of your questions in and we will get to them. This session is being recorded, and we'll be sharing a copy of the recording after the webinar. It will also be available on Ironclad Academy. So please feel free to share it with any of your colleagues who maybe weren't able to join today. Before we head in, I'm going to take a quick minute to talk about our agenda. In today's webinar, we are going to start by showcasing some recently released features. We'll talk through contract statuses and auto renewals, and then status actions and recomputations. And then we are going to be introducing some upcoming features that are just weeks away from release, which include Salesforce two-way sync, round-robin role assignments, and the new Ironclad dashboard. To close us out, I'll invite our presenters back onto the stage, and we will get to all of that Q&A. And without further ado, I want to invite all of the product managers up onto the stage to introduce themselves.
Hey everyone, I'm Rishabh. I'm a product manager here at Ironclad, been with the company 3 years, and I'm pretty excited to talk to all of you about some of the features we've launched over the past few months around obligation management, specifically with contract statuses and auto renewals.
Hi there, I'm Tina. I'm the product manager here leading our integrations team. Been with the company about 1.5 years, and I'm based out of Madison, Wisconsin. Really excited to share the latest update to our Salesforce integration.
Hi everyone, my name is Ali Haitha. I'm a product manager here at Ironclad. I've been here for about 4.5 years, and I'm based in San Francisco, and I'll be talking to you all about round-robin role assignment.
Good morning. I'm Steven. I'm a member of the product team here at Ironclad. I've been here almost 2 years, and I'll be walking through some of the changes to the Ironclad dashboard.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much. And I'm going to pass it off to you, Rishabh, to get us started with contract statuses and auto renewals.
Amazing. Thanks, Erin. So yeah, talking about contract statuses and auto renewals, obviously this has been a very long requested feature on Ironclad. And so the notion here was, with Ironclad having knowledge of all of your contract data, we should be able to automatically tell you whether your contract is active, is it inactive, is it expiring. If it's auto renewing, then those dates should move accordingly. And that's exactly what we've built. So with this release now across the Ironclad app, wherever you see a contract record, whether it be in the repository, the dashboard, reminders, related record search, the contract family view, you will be able to see a status for the contract. At the highest level, it'll be active versus inactive, but we have a few key sub-statuses as well, like auto-renewing, expiring, executed, and evergreen, depending on the renewal type and other key contract data. In addition, auto-renewing contracts will now actually truly maintain their contract dates. So what that means is, if a contract is auto-renewing, upon hitting that expiration date, that contract will move that expiration date forward by the renewal term length. And if you have any renewal opt-out dates on there, those will also be maintained. So next up, how do you actually control these statuses that you're seeing on your Ironclad surface? So for that, we have introduced contract status actions, where Ironclad, with a single button, you'll be able to indicate whether a contract has been terminated, superseded, if you need to cancel an auto renewal. All of that can be done with a single click, and that'll help ensure that contract data stays up to date. All customers who joined or onboarded Ironclad after the 13th of September 2023 have this feature turned on automatically and should be seeing the statuses in their repository and across the app. If you were a customer before the 13th of September 2023, then what you'll have to do is use the lifecycle preset in your workflow configurations, and then ensure that all of your repository data conforms to that as well before turning on the features. We've included a bunch of Help Center content that you can follow on after this presentation to view and understand how to turn on statuses and auto renewals in your company. So let's dive into a quick demo. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And awesome. So as you can see on my screen over here, now in my Ironclad repository, I have all of these contracts that have their status as active, inactive, expiring, and I have this view called the upcoming deadlines view, which shows me the contracts that need my attention the most. So this contract is auto-renewing in 2 days. A couple of these are expiring in 14 days, and so they require my attention the most. And so there is a dedicated view that lets me monitor all of those. This feature also works with Smart Import out of the box. So as you can see over here, I have this contract that I Smart imported. And when I go into the lifecycle section, I can see that the current expiration date is the 31st of October 2024, and it has auto-renewed thrice already, even though when I look into the contract, I can see that the actual contract end date was October 31st, 2021. In addition, as you can see across the Ironclad app, whether it be in the contract family view, in the dashboard, in the launch form when you're looking for parent or child contracts to relate new contracts to, or in your reminders, you will get these status fields included out of the box without having to do anything to ensure that you always know what the status of these contracts is. And when we mean everywhere, we truly mean everywhere. So even when you're launching a contract, let's say from Salesforce, and use related record search, you'll be able to see those statuses there as well. So moving on to contract status actions, how do you actually control them? It's as simple as clicking a contract status over here and deciding, all right, this is an active contract, but I want to terminate it. So I can click terminate, give it a termination effective date. Let's say I want it to be effective 24th of October, and the termination notice letter is held in this record over here. Once I click terminate, sorry. Oops. And I think there is something wrong with my company. So give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and terminate this contract. All right, seems like we're running into a technical issue, but essentially when I do click this contract to be terminated, I will be able to view that status as such. And so if I search, let's say contracts with a termination, oh, there you go. So there's just a little bit of slowness on my end with my internet, but you can see that this contract is terminating. And once we pass this date, the contract will show up as inactive and having been terminated. So finally, how are contract status recomputations useful? So often when you have contracts in your repository, they may have data that was entered incorrectly. When that happens, you may want to go ahead and update it. So let's say the agreement date over here is the 1st of January 2024, but in reality, it was actually the 1st of January 2025. So when I click and save this information, it's going to recompute the contract lifecycle so that our contract lifecycle is always accurate. And so when I refresh my screen, the contracts lifecycle section will show the fact that this contract is inactive because the agreement date is in the future. So that's a little bit about contract statuses and auto renewals. And now I will pass it on to Tina to talk about Salesforce.
All right, thanks, Rashad. Hi, everybody. I'm super excited today to share with you more about the latest update to our already best-in-class Salesforce integration with the addition of two-way sync. So this update to the Salesforce integration ensures complete alignment between Salesforce and Ironclad by providing real-time bi-directional metadata sync for in-flight workflows. This means any updates made in either application are instantly reflected across both systems, eliminating manual data entry and reducing the risk of errors. With customizable attribute mappings, users can tailor the bidirectional sync to specific properties, ensuring that key contract and deal information remains consistent and up to date, no matter where that field is edited. This not only improves operational efficiency, but also enhances collaboration across teams, enables faster decision-making, and more accurate data reporting. So let's go ahead and see a demo and see this in action. Share my screen here. All right. Here you're seeing my Salesforce integration landing page. This should look familiar to company admins who have configured the Salesforce integration in the past. Here in my workflow sync configurations, I'm going to go ahead and edit one of my launch configurations with this opportunity. When I do that, you will now see new options for a sync direction to choose from. Here you'll see I have sync from Salesforce, which is the current sync function you have today. Or now we have the option to sync bidirectionally, which will allow you to make those updates in Ironclad and have those reflected back into Salesforce. So I'll go ahead and make this effective date property to sync bidirectionally and save this change. All right. Coming into one of my workflows, we can see here that this one has an effective date of October 1st. Now, October 1st is in the past, so we want to update that. Let's say it needs to be November 1st. And before we do that, let's take a look at the opportunity to see that that's also October 1st in Salesforce. All right, so here's the close date of my mapping, and that is also October 1st. Coming back into my order form, I'm going to edit info. And let's make this November 1st. Once I update that information, I'll see that update reflected on my activity feed. We can see that a new version was generated. My effective date was previously October 1st, is now November 1st. And we also see that over here in the sidebar of the effective date. Coming back into that opportunity, I also see that that close date is November 1st. So just like that, you're able to update in Ironclad and have that seamless transition between Ironclad and Salesforce. So whoever needs to make the updates during those negotiations will be able to do so bidirectionally. All right, that's it for me. I'm going to turn it over to Allie to talk to us about round robin role assignments.
Thank you, Tina. As I said, my name is Allie Haitha. I'm a product manager here at Ironclad. Please excuse me as I have a slight cough. I'm excited to talk to you all about the new round robin role assignment feature, which will offer a new method of assigning internal roles within Workflow Designer so that our customers can better manage their team's workloads. Currently, when assigning an approver or signer or signature coordinator or archiver to a group, the system limits the assignment to the group's designated default user or selecting from a list. This constraint has led many customers to seek alternative solutions, often by manually intervening on in-flight workflows. We recognize the challenges this has caused, and we've developed a more efficient solution to help streamline work distribution across your teams. Starting November 6th, we will support round robin role assignments. So with this new feature, workflow admins can select for internal roles to be rotated automatically between all users from the Who Can Approve group configured in Workflow Designer, as you can see here. This updated option will help streamline processes, reduce manual intervention, enhance team collaboration, ultimately eliminating the need for workarounds and minimizing bottlenecks. Before we hop into the demo, let's talk about a couple of details about how it works. Each approver, signer, etc., within a workflow configuration works on its own rotation. That is to say that if you have two workflow configurations with the same approver name, groups, and rotation, right now those rotations operate independently from one another. The original ordering is currently random. There's not currently an option to set the order, but it stays in that same order from then on, and only really changing if a user is added or removed from the group or the Who Can Approve bucket. If a user is marked as out of office, we skip them while they're out, and when they come back, they go back into the order that they were prior to their leave. And if you are in multiple groups Who Can Approve, you are only counted once. So just because you're in two groups doesn't mean you're getting twice. As I mentioned, the new round robin role assignment feature can be configured in Workflow Designer. So let's jump into to Workflow Designer and set this up. Oh, sorry, my screen share. Oh. Great. Okay, so here we have this screen. Within a workflow configuration, I go to a role assignment. For this example, I'll go to review to update an approver. First, I want to highlight with this change, we've updated a bit of the wording here to just be a little more intuitive and a bit clearer as to what we're actually doing. When should approval be reset? How will the approver be assigned? In this example scenario, I am an admin on the legal team and would like to distribute approval assignments for the legal review approval. So under how will the approver be assigned, I look at my options and I now see I have an option for rotate assignment automatically. And and that's it. And now I select publish. I've already actually, for the purpose of demo brevity, I've already launched a couple of workflows just to show you. But essentially now, as you launch a few of these workflows, we'll see that each individual workflow will have a different assignee setup. So starting here with the very big corp, I look here, I see that Larissa Law, that the legal review is assigned to Larissa Law. If I go to this next one, I see it's assigned to Cassandra Commercial Lawyer, and so on and so forth. As you can see, as I select into each workflow, the legal approver has been successfully assigned to a different person within for the same role. Everything about this workflow page otherwise looks the same, except for who's actually assigned to the legal review approver. Oh, is it not sharing? Oh, so apologies. Let me reshare. Okay, can you all see this now? Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. All right. Okay, so let me start from the beginning then. So I've launched a couple of workflows here. The first one I see is that Larissa Law is assigned as the approver for the legal review. And then as I go into this next one, I'll see that it's Cassandra Commercial Lawyer, and so on and so forth as I click into each of these. So as I select into each workflow, the legal approver has been successfully assigned to a different person for the same role. Everything about this workflow looks the same except for who's actually assigned into that approver. Since there are only five people in this group's rotation, if I were to select the sixth workflow that I've launched, it will go back to Larissa Law, and so it just continues to rotate. So now, as an admin of the legal team, I can now be assured that a more balanced and efficient distribution of responsibilities exists without having to manually intervene and reassign in flight workflows. And that's the beauty of the new round robin role assignment feature in Workflow Designer. If you have any questions, please add them into the Q&A. Please provide any feedback you have as you start to use this feature. And next, I'll pass it to Stephen to show us the new dashboard. Thank you for listening.
Hello. So I'm really excited to show off to you a redesigned version of the Ironclad dashboard. Just to give you a quick summary of the improvements we've made and why. We've made a number of changes to filtering, how you manage views, and how you find and access bulk actions to take quick actions from the dashboard. And overall, our goal here was to make it easier for everyone to find and access the workflows that they're looking for. There's really two kinds of people who rely on the Ironclad dashboard as their default homepage. There's folks who in legal and legal ops and similar roles who really live and breathe Ironclad and work in the product every day. But then the Ironclad dashboard is also where all of the business users who come to Ironclad less frequently when they're requesting a contract or they happen to have something assigned to them to approve or to sign, and they need to get in and quickly find the dashboard workflows that are relevant to them without having to learn Ironclad and how the system works, right? So the Ironclad dashboard really needs to flex to allow for really complex and high frequency usage, as well as just getting in and out of the product really as quickly as possible to take actions that are relevant to you and then get back to the other work that is the core of your role. So with this in mind, we've tried to redesign and refresh some of the core features for finding workflows within the dashboard to make it easier, especially for those low frequency users who come in and out of the product not every day, right? So I'll go ahead and just kick off the demo here. If I can figure out how to screen share. Okay. All right. So zoom in a little bit here. You'll notice a few things, and I'll call out some of the things that haven't changed. Number one thing that hasn't changed here is in progress is still the default landing view that all users will get. And then if you selected a different default view or a custom view the last time that you were in Ironclad, we will bring you back to that view. So by default, in progress is where you'll land. But if you have a selected custom view, say like assigned to me or one of the custom views you set up, Ironclad will continue to remember that. Across all of the views, the number one change that we've made is instead of one entry point where you search through all of the filters that are possible, or enter into the search box, say like a name of a counterparty or MSA to be able to find contracts, we've set up these 5 new default views that we know from looking at our search experience and from looking at the filters that people set up represents about 80% of the way that both business users and users in legal need to set up filters and views to be able to find contracts. And making these filters really easy is super important because actually filtering on the precise properties that represent the structured data that Ironclad knows about your contracts is going to produce much more accurate results usually than just searching for a text string that matches the entire body of the documents that are within the workflows. So I'll run through these filters really quickly. The first one is stage, which is the stages that the workflow goes through. What those stages are hasn't changed at all. It's create, review, sign, archive, and then completed. You can also, in each of these individual filter pills, actually add multiple filters to the list. So in this case, this already includes all of the filters, but you can add as many of these as you want in the individual filters for each of these types. The next one is type, which is the record type that's associated with it. So you can see when I click in, I get a list of all of the record types, whether it's amendment, capital expenditure, carrier agreements. This example has many, many record types. The next one is counterparty, which is the name of the counterparty that's within the contract. Counterparty name is a required field on basically all workflows, and therefore it's always going to have at least one counterparty name within it. And then people, which is the individual roles that users within Ironclad are assigned to within the workflow process. The first one we show you here is assignees because that's the most common one, but we also have all of the other individual roles that a user might be, which is approvers, archivers, creators, signers, owners, and other roles. And then we have a date field. So by default here, we show you agreement date. And we'll also let you pick any of the custom date properties that you have. within the experience here. So, and then we give you a date picker. You can pick an individual date, you can pick a range of date, and then we actually still give you a large set of like default quick filters for the dates where you could say agreement date is in the last 7 days, the last year, or greater than a year, 180 days. Or within the, say, the quarter to date. So some really quick options so you don't have to hunt around within the calendar picker in order to find a specific date range that represents the most common ways. And then for all of the date fields or other individual properties that you set up here, you can also just click all and search through all of the potential custom properties that you have. The other thing you'll notice here is that by each of these default filters, most of the time people are just filtering based on whether something is or is not, say, a given counterparty name or record type. That's the simple mode. But we also support conditional logic where you could say something is this and or is something else, right, as a filter group. To be able to do that, you really just need to turn on this advanced mode, and this will turn on a mode which is essentially like the filtering that you get today within the Ironclad dashboard, where you can create nested groups of filters that have conditional change logic to be able to do some really complex things, right? So all of the capabilities in filtering are still there. If you're an Ironclad Pro and you know exactly how to set up a much more complex filter, but we've hopefully made it easier in default mode for the folks who just want to pick out the given counterparties that they work with as an account executive or a particular record type that they're interested in, for instance. You'll also notice that whenever I change the custom views here, we've hopefully made that easier as well. So I'm looking at in progress. I'm actually going to set up a quick custom view here to look at contracts that need to be archived that are from the last 365 days. So the agreement date is within, is actually older than a year. So let's do 365 days or more. You can see here that in the latest activity, these were all signed greater than 365 days. And then I'm starting from this default view that's in progress. All I have to do is save and then click save as a new custom view, or I can hit the add view button and it will preserve those filters. So I could say needs archive older than 1 year. Create that, save it. You can see it shows up in my custom view with the count of exactly how many workflows are within the list. And then of course, the other thing that defines a custom view within Ironclad is not just the filters that you've set up, but also the columns and the sort order of those columns. So by default, you're required to have the name of the workflow and the stage on every single view, but all of the other views and columns that are within that are fully customizable. We've made this easier by basically making it work how you would expect it to, where you can just drag and drop the order of the columns to be able to remove these, and then you can just click on any column header to be able to remove it. So you can see turn information is not in here because these are contracts needing archive, so they don't have any turns. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and remove these. And then this is a pretty long list. So let's say I want to manage the columns in bulk and change the order. I can go ahead and do that. And you can add any metadata property, just like any filter, as a column that you can view, right? And then this is sorted by latest activity. Let's actually sort it by date created. So I've customized all these columns. You can see here, we don't automatically save all the changes that you've made. So I need to go ahead and save and update this custom view. And then of course, if I want to make a new version, I can actually just save it as a new custom view. Okay. So I've saved and updated that. And then let's say I want to actually act in bulk on all of these to be able to say reassign them. I can actually go ahead and now select this. And instead of having to hunt around in a hidden menu for how to take a quick bulk action, as soon as I select a given set of contracts, and then I'm actually going to select all 44 across the entire page, you can see exactly what options I have for taking quick action on all of these contracts. So I can either export it, reassign it, change the status, etc. And that has hopefully saved you several clicks in managing bulk actions within a list of contracts. So The other quick small changes are within the custom views menu, especially if you're using Ironclad really frequently. We know that many people have a long list of custom views and then also rely on those more so than the default views. So we actually now allow you to hide that list of custom views, and then you can actually go ahead and reorder the views all at once without having to individually drag around an individual one within the sidebar. And then of course you can always hide that sidebar if you need to. So that's the high-level summary of the changes that we've made to the dashboard overall. Hopefully made it a little more focused and easier to find the things that you're looking for, especially if you're an infrequent user of Ironclad.
All right. Thank you all so much. I'm going to jump up here. Alrighty, really exciting updates. I see that there are tons of questions that have come in, so we'll give our product managers a minute or two to look those over. Make sure you drop any additional questions that you have into that Q&A. And I just want to make a couple of quick PSAs. So if you haven't already, we highly recommend subscribing to our release notes. So we're going to drop a link in the chat, and all you have to do is click this link, check follow, and you will be able to receive weekly release update emails from Ironclad, so you can always stay on top of the latest and greatest. So the next thing I want to take a moment is just a reminder that there are tons of Ironclad resources at your fingertips. So the first is Ironclad Academy. This is your go-to hub for both on-demand and live resources. We offer tailored learning pathways for admins and business users, along with weekly live training sessions covering a range of topics. The next, of course, is our Help Center. So all of the product managers here today highlighted that these new features are in our Help Center. So take a look at the Help Center, just dive into all of those step-by-step guides that can really help you configure, optimize, and get the most out of your Ironclad experience. And finally, the Ironclad community. I know many of you are already members, but if not, we encourage you to join. It's the perfect place to connect with others who are leading the way in digital contracting. So we are going to head into our highly anticipated Q&A. I'm so excited to welcome the product managers back up onto the stage, and we are going to just dive into some of your questions. We'll go in order of how the PMs were introducing their topics. So make sure if you have follow-up questions, drop those in as well. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And all right, welcome back up, everyone. So Rashab, our first set of questions are for you. And I'll just jump right in. So the first one is contract statuses dependent on the accuracy of our metadata? Or will Ironclad's AI rerun our metadata to provide insights?
That's a great question. So the statuses are dependent on the accuracy of your data. But one key thing that I don't want to steal the thunder of the feature too much, but a key feature launching very soon in Ironclad is also going to be the ability to run the AI on any record. So in your repository, if let's say you don't have data on some contracts and you don't want to spend time filling that information out manually, you'll just be able to select those records, click Run AI, and Ironclad AI will detect all of the data we do during smart import and populate it. The other side to this is that Smart Import does support all of the properties that are needed to drive contract statuses accurately. And so these two features in combination will be able to help that need.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, next question. Do all users have permission to edit contract statuses and lifecycle data?
Nope. Only users who have edit access to a record will be able to take contract status actions or do the recomputations.
Great. Next question. If you have linked contracts as parent, child, or related, will it update the expiration date for all child records if the parent has auto-renewal terms?
That's also an excellent question that speaks a little bit to our roadmap. So today, what you can do when launching parent or child contracts is you can inherit the data from the parent. So in the launch form, when I select a MSA as the parent to an SOW, I can inherit all the data from it. And so if it specifies auto renewal, etc., that'll get inherited by the SOW. But that data isn't updated. So if the MSA is amended, for example, then the child in the future doesn't inherit those changes. And so over the course of this year, we are working on a project called Amendments and Coterminous Children, where whenever amendments are enacted in Ironclad, the parents will automatically update their data to reflect the changes from the amendment. And any coterminous children, such as the ones that have the same auto-renewal terms or expiration dates, will also reflect those changes.
Awesome. Thank you. Next question. Do we have to add lifecycle properties for contract statuses to work?
Yep. So lifecycle properties have to be populated in order for contract statuses to work. Since statuses are based on key contract data, it needs to be standardized across all contracts and customers in order for the system to actually determine what the status of the contract is.
Great. Thank you. Will stakeholders associated with the contract request also be notified of an upcoming lifecycle event?
Yeah, so what you can do is you can set up contract email reminders. I can link the contract reminders help center article after this meeting, but you can set up very granular reminders like a one reminder 90 days before renewal opt-out date to, let's say, the contract owner or business owner, any type of property on the record that's an email. And those individuals will receive a reminder exactly that many days before the renewal opt-out date or any other lifecycle event date that you'd like to base reminders on.
Awesome. Thank you. A couple more questions, and then we'll be over to Tina. Can you set up contract status on records with auto-renewal clauses to give you the status date based on auto-renewal opt-out date instead of the expiration date?
That won't be possible today. So the statuses are based explicitly on that expiration date, but the renewal opt-out date is also maintained automatically. So you can create a custom saved view with the renewal opt-out date as a column if that is the date you care about most.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, for contract statuses, will there be an easy way to click status on the table to filter the different statuses, for example, active from inactive, expiring, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can actually do this today. So I'll just quickly share my screen. Cool. So as you can see over here, I can add a filter called status. And this lets me filter between active, inactive, and unknown. To get to the more granular substatuses, you can filter by things like renewal type. Typing is hard. Things like renewal type. So I can say none. And there you go.
Okay. Your screen was frozen for a little bit of that.
Oops.
Just as a note. All right, we can keep going. But the answer is yes, you can currently filter based on status and other more granular pieces of information there. So the next question is contract status determined based on agreement date field or effective date field?
So the highest priority is given to the effective date property, but we understand that customers have been using agreement date for a really long time in the Ironclad system, and it can often have two meanings. It could be either the signature date or it could mean the actual effective date. And so what we have done is when an effective date is not present on a contract record, we fall back to using the agreement date as the date on which we make the contract active. If an agreement date is also not present on a record, then Ironclad, for workflows that are generated through Ironclad, automatically generates a property called the executed date. And on that date is when we mark the contract as having become active.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to have one more question for Rashab right now, then we're going to head into Tina just to make sure we can get to questions for all of our PMs today. So last question here right now, Rashab, what if you rerun AI on a record that has already auto-renewed multiple times? Does it change the expiration date back to the original one? And does it mark the contract as expired?
Great question. So rerunning AI on a record would imply that the original data was incorrect or different. And so what that would mean is that this effectively does the job of a recomputation. And so when you click Run AI and see that, oh, the original expiration date was actually being tracked incorrectly, then Ironclad will recompute all of the auto renewals that have happened, assuming that was the original expiration date.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rashab. Tina, you are in the hot seat now. We've got some questions for you. So the first is there a way to dictate which system wins in case of an inconsistency with bidirectional sync?
Yeah, thanks, Erin. No, there's not necessarily a systemic way to indicate which one is the source of truth. We've done a lot of testing, making sure that we don't have those race conditions. And so it's just going to be whichever system was last updated will be the final value between both systems.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next question is, will it sync to the workflow or to the repository metadata?
That's right. This is just for in-flight workflows right now. So we do not have bidirectional sync available with records in the repository.
Okay, great. Next question is, does bidirectional work for dynamic tables?
Great question. Not yet. In our Help Center article, it'll list all of the different types of supported properties, but we are considering additional types based on customer feedback. So thank you.
All right, great. Next question is, does the bidirectional sync happen instantaneously or does it run on a regular cadence?
Yeah, great. It's a real-time update. So as soon as that update's made, we'll make that call out to Salesforce to update that property. So it's not necessarily, on a every 5-minute type of timeline.
Okay, great. Thank you. Question is, Salesforce and Ironclad bidirectional sync, does that apply to any dates that are synced? I think maybe data, pricing change, pricing plan change, etc.
Yeah, so when you get access to this and you go in and you can see each property, you can choose which ones you want to be able to sync bidirectionally. Some folks may want to make sure that Salesforce stays as the source of truth, or there may be some specifically you want from Ironclad. So it's what you choose as long as it's the supported property type, as I mentioned before.
Okay, great. Is there a way to make bidirectional syncing apply universally, or do you have to do it per quality and per workflow manually? We'd want all changes in Ironclad to match Salesforce.
Yeah, you do have to do it manually. So we will turn on this feature for all Salesforce integration users, but there will be no change until you go in and manually decide which properties on which workflows that you actually want to have that capability turned on for.
Okay, great. Just two more for you, Tina. Does whether or not the workflow is approved change whether the bidirectional sync occurs?
Yeah, no, the approval status doesn't necessarily matter. Again, though, it's for those in-flight workflows. So it could be, pending approval or approved, but as long as that workflow is, not fully executed, you can make those updates.
Okay, great. So our final question for you, Tina, then we're going to head into yours, Allie. Will bidirectional sync take edits made directly to the document in Ironclad, or do the edits have to be made in edit info for them to sync?
Yeah, great question. That, this will work with smart import. So if you're making edits into a document, you load it back into Ironclad. Ironclad detects an update to that property. We then see that as an update, and then we pick that up and send it back to Salesforce. So it does work with smart import.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Allie, over to you. So first question that we've got is, instead of round robin, can you make the assignment of role based on certain criteria in the launch form? For example, Jason works on all MSAs for a certain region.
Yes, this is available today, actually, where you can configure based off of, if you have fields in the launch form like record type and region, you can configure conditions that say record type equals MSA and region equals EMEA, and then configure the approval role so that Jason is the default user under those conditions.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Next question is, how does the round robin work with out of office settings? What if someone in the group has their out of office backup set as someone who is not in the group?
Yeah, so we made a decision here to not have it jump immediately to a designee, because the idea here of round robin is that you have this group that's already, like, it's part of their daily work to handle these requests. So what happens in out of office is if a user from the group is selected as out of office and it would normally be their turn in the rotation, we skip that person and it skips the next person. And then when the out of office person comes back, they stay in their order. Now, if, let's say, like, if every single person from the group, or you only have one user or two users and they're both out of office, and it's marked as rotating assignment automatically, it will then go through their out of office designees. So the idea is, first, let's use like the group of people that we know already handle this task day to day, because often designees can be managers, et cetera. We don't want to add more work when it can be otherwise distributed.
Awesome, thank you. The next question here is, can the round robin functionality be used with advanced conditions?
Short answer is yes, it can be. You can set it to rotate automatically in both of the conditions or just one.
Okay, great. Next question is, if the assigned user decides to manually reassign to another user, does the assignment order restart?
Great question. No. So reassignment does not impact the order going forward. It'll just impact that single workflow.
Okay. A couple more here and then over to you, Stephen. So the next one is, so with this approver change, I can still use the dropdown in the launch form to assign the reviewer from legal, correct?
Yes, we're not taking any functionality away, though. With what I showcased, we have updated the copy, the wording a little bit. So it now says assign manually, and then it'll still create the dropdown. But this does not take away any functionality.
Okay, great. Next question is, can this round robin rotation be used for playbooks and / approvers?
The answer is no. So right now, clause approvers only let you assign a single user. So that's a limitation already that just exists within clause approvers. So there's not an ability to rotate within that. But I could see that as a future as a future add-on.
Okay, great. Final question here is, can we set it so after a certain amount of contracts, another approver is assigned?
Yeah, so this is kind of another thing. It's called like true load balancing, which is to say, I know that Tina's actually at max capacity, so I don't want to keep on rotating to give her more assignments. This is not coming with this feature. That is something that we have on our radar. We see it as really important, but that is not available with this feature. That will be an upcoming one. We don't have it scheduled yet, but it's really on our radar, and we're looking into it.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Allie. Stephen, over to you. First question that we have is, with new dashboards. Oh, sorry, I thought I heard someone talking to me. Okay, with the new dashboards, will any previously saved custom dashboard views still be available?
Yes. So any customizations that you've already made to your list of custom views, their columns, the sort order, anything like that, all of that will be preserved in the new dashboard version. It's literally just the layout of the dashboard overall and how you access views, filters, and bulk actions. Any custom views you have will be 100% preserved.
Okay, great. Next question here is, I use the same filter group in multiple views with the differences in other filters. sorry, I use the same filter group in multiple views with differences in other filters. Is it possible to save a filter group so we don't have to manually recreate it for every view?
Yeah, there actually is. Let me screen share and show you here how you could go ahead and do this. So let's say that within this custom view, I've set up a filter group or any other filter customizations. If I want to reuse the filter settings that I have here, like if I've set up like a very complex filter group, for instance, rather than these simple ones, all I would have to do is just start from whatever custom view has whatever filter group or other filters I want to reuse, make customizations that I want to change. So let's say I want to add counterparty name is this, and then reuse the other filter settings. I just start here, and then all I have to do is click save and save as a new custom view. Right? So you could start from whatever customizations you have and then make infinite save views from that list of settings. So hopefully that answers your question.
Awesome. Thank you. Another question, Stephen, is the share view option still available with the updated dashboard, and will the shared customized views refresh automatically?
First part of that answer is yes. So within any view, you can go ahead and copy link to the view to be able to share it either via email or chat or somewhere else outside of the product. So that is still there for any custom view that you have. We have not changed custom views such that it automatically populates across everyone. So what you're doing is you're copying and sharing the view definition, but you're not actually live syncing changes across like a group of everyone who's shared that view. We know that that's a very common request, and we're considering that for the future though.
Awesome. Thank you. That's all the questions we have right now. I do want to just call out. So Stephen, Ali, and Tina, you all shared upcoming releases. Would you all mind just letting us know the release schedule for these new features? Stephen, we could start with you.
Yeah, the new dashboard is coming for all instances of Ironclad on November 7th.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Ali?
Round Robin role assignments is going to be available in your workflow designer for all customers November 6th.
Okay, Tina.
We have a theme. Two-way sync will be enabled for all Salesforce users on November 6th. But if you want a sneak peek, you can reach out to your Ironclad POC and they can turn it on early for you.
Okay, fantastic. So big week. Really excited about all of these upcoming releases. I think we've got one more question for you, Tina. And then, of course, everyone, we've got 9 minutes left. So if you have more questions, please feel free to drop those in the Q&A, and we would be more than happy to get to them. Tina, last question that I've seen come in. So you said bi-directional sync would update on an import. So would it update numbers in Salesforce based on red lines from a client?
We didn't make any changes with how import and your document. It's simply saying when the fields get updated in Ironclad, be it from Smart Import or however they get updated from the document, we will pick up those changes and send that over to Salesforce. So no changes to how your current process looks there.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Also, thank you to our moderators on the back end who are compiling all of your all's questions that we're sending in. I'm just gonna take a look here. PMs, if you've noticed any questions that have come in that we didn't get to for you, please feel free to call them out to me. Otherwise, if you've got any more helpful PSAs for any of your features, let us know as well. Okay. Alrighty, Ali, I have one more for you. With the round robin feature, can the assignee reassign to someone else in their group still?
Yes, we have not updated. The reassignment will all work the same. The only thing that really changes is who is that first assignee.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And Stephen, we've got one more for you. Will the search terms/logic stay the same? Will the help button still show up in the new dashboard?
Yes, search logic is actually staying the same. You can continue to search either within all workflows or the given current view that you've selected.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
I can share my screen quickly now on the.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you, Rishab.
Cool. Let's hope it works this time. Right, first test, is my screen frozen?
We can see your screen. I can see your mouse moving.
Amazing, great.
Okay, great.
So in the repository, you can today add filters on the status. So the status will let you filter on the highest level statuses that we have, which is active, inactive, and unknown. And so if I want to get to the expiring status, what I can do is I can select contracts that are active, that have the renewal type of none, and whose expiration date, well, it doesn't matter because they're all active anyway. And as you can see now, I have all of the contracts that are expiring in this view. A key thing you'll notice is that some of these pills just say active and not expiring. The reason for that is that we start showing expiring starting 180 days before the expiration date. The same is true for auto-renewing or any other transitory statuses that would be between a contract being active and a future event. We always show the substatus starting 180 days before the lifecycle or contract status event. Hope that's helpful. And as always, there is always the upcoming deadlines view where, let me just remove these filters so that they don't apply to it, where you can just go to view the most important contracts that require your attention and just view those. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Rishab, another question came in for you. So the question is, if I heard correctly, Rishab briefly touched upon an existing feature available where you can carry over properties, say from an MSA to the newly incoming workflow. So for an SOW under the MSA, what is that called and how does it work?
Yeah, so that's our parent-child feature. So in the Ironclad workflow designer, when you set up, sorry, let me share my screen again. And over here, when you set up your parent-child properties, so over here, I've set up the parent contract. I can set up something called property assignment. So what I can do is I can select properties that are in my parent record. So for example, the renewal type, and I can assign it to a property that is in this workflow configuration so that instead of my user having to answer that question, that data can just be inherited from that parent record at launch. This functionality works for most of our properties and can then be used to support the inheritance of data for children that need to be auto-renewing because the parent is auto-renewing. Awesome. And we can link the Help Center articles around these after the webinar as well.
Great, thank you so much. And we've got our last question. It is for Stephen. And the last question is there a priority or urgent marker that can be marked or included in the dashboard?
There isn't a default priority or urgency marker. You could actually add that as a custom property within a workflow that it could be defined by, say, like, legal admins or others within the Ironclad process, and then show that as a custom column. But out of the box, no, there's no priority or urgency column.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, everyone, that concludes our session for today. Thank you all so much for attending. Thank you all for submitting such thoughtful questions. And a huge thank you to our product managers for their time and sharing all of this information. We hope to see you again at any of our upcoming webinars. And I hope everyone has a great day and a wonderful fall season. All right, we will chat with you all later, and thank you so much.